You're watching South Florida's 9.
Captioning is sponsored by Gordon and Partners for theinjured.com. Connecting you to the biggest stories impacting Florida. This is The News on Florida 24 Network.
Right now on Florida 24 Network, let the campaigning begin. The new ads encouraging Florida's governor to enter the race for president. Plus,
I've never seen anything to this magnitude in my lifetime.
The painstaking and emotional process of cleaning up damaged boats after Hurricane Ian. Hello and welcome to Florida 24 Network. I'm Jennifer De La Cruz. We are covering the top stories across our state. We are continuing to put a special focus on politics here in Florida. The 2024 general election may be more than 700 days away, but the political ads for the presidential race are already popping up. That includes those touting candidates who haven't even announced a run for the White House. As Capitol reporter for Saunders shows us, that includes Governor Ron DeSantis. Meanwhile, as former President Trump begins his next bid for the White House, could Mar-a-Lago become his new campaign headquarters? Some conservative insiders say yes.
Absolutely can run a campaign from here. He's somebody who has not been a traditional politician. And you know what? We live in a world now, we're in such an information age, which is a good and a bad. Donald Trump can do anything from anywhere. And Palm Beach has quickly become the second coming of D.C.
Karen Turk, who you just heard from, says the plan is to bring back some familiar faces from Trump's 2016 campaign that won him the White House. Trump also keeps his plane at Palm Beach International, which he would likely use on the campaign trail. 1 week after the midterm election, we finally know which party will control the U.S. House come January. Republicans got the required 218th seat needed for the House majority on Wednesday when a former Navy fighter pilot officially won a district north of Los Angeles. Experts say the closely divided House may cause political gridlock in Washington, since it may be hard to get enough votes for bills to pass. As for the U.S. Senate, Democrats will control that chamber. Despite several key GOP wins, Republicans are falling short of the sweeping victories they predicted for the midterms. That's in stark contrast to Florida, where Republicans earned supermajorities in the state legislature and swept the Florida cabinet. Earlier this week, I asked our Washington, D.C. correspondent Joe St. George what state Democrats need to do to bring voters back to their side. Here are some of the other top stories that we're following. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she will not seek a leadership position in the new Congress after Democrats lost control of the House in last week's midterms. She made the announcement on the House floor on Thursday.
For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect.
Pelosi has led House Democrats for nearly 20 years, and she's the only woman to have ever been Speaker of the House. She will still remain in Congress representing San Francisco, as she has for over 35 years. House Democrats will elect new leadership next month. A federal judge has struck down parts of Florida's Stop Woke Act. That's the law placing new rules on race education in public schools and workplace trainings. In a ruling on Thursday, Judge Mark Walker issued a preliminary injunction that would block enforcement of the law in Florida's public universities. Walker writing, quote, "The First Amendment does not permit the state of Florida to muzzle its university professors, impose its own orthodoxy of viewpoints, and cast us all into the dark." The Stop Woke Act was signed earlier this year. It bans the teaching of concepts like inherent racism and white privilege. The governor and other supporters have defended it as fighting indoctrination, though it's been the target of several lawsuits from educators and businesses. Thursday's ruling came about after students and a professor at the University of South Florida sued. A judge has awarded Gabby Petito's family $3 million in a wrongful death lawsuit filed against Brian Laundrie's estate. The settlement became official on Thursday in Sarasota County. Petito's family says whatever money is received will go toward the Gabby Petito Foundation, dedicated to locating missing people and curbing domestic violence. Petito went missing last year during a cross-country road trip with Laundrie, her fiancé. Investigators say Laundrie strangled her before returning to Florida. He admitted to killing Petito in a notebook that was found alongside his remains in Sarasota County. State officials are planning to bring back an experimental manatee feeding program this winter. Wildlife officials say for the second straight year, they'll feed the gentle mammals lettuce at a warm water power plant near Cape Canaveral. Last season, the plant distributed over 200,000 pounds of lettuce to manatees. The food will help supplement the manatee's natural diet of seagrass. Water pollution has killed these grasses, causing many manatees to starve. Over 700 manatee deaths have been reported to the state so far this year. We're getting new insight into how Southwest Florida is working to remove thousands of boats that were abandoned during Hurricane Ian. Tuesday was the last day for owners to claim any boats that were damaged and scattered throughout the area. Now, contractors are in the process of hauling boats away. Crews say their work is in the early stages, but it's already quite emotional for them.
I was walking around the yard up there just a little while ago, and it's just pretty heartbreaking to see people's, dream boats that have just totally been destroyed, and, it's just really heartbreaking.
If a boat is a total loss, it will be crushed and usable material will be sold off. Contractors expect the cleanup process to take several months.
Coming up on Florida 24 Network.
I spoke to supervisors, and every time I called, they said to me that it's a working process.
A Florida couple is forced to cancel their dream vacation, and despite buying travel insurance, months went by without getting their money back. How they finally found relief and what you need to know before you book. Plus, new solutions to address a persistent affordable housing shortage, the idea taking shape near Disney, and the new rules that could help families in South Florida rent out their homes.
Taking Action reporter Jackie Calloway. A Tampa Bay couple couldn't wait to start their dream vacation, but then an accident forced them to cancel. They made a call for action after waiting months for the travel insurance to pay up. If you run into trouble with the travel claim, your options are limited, but you can file a complaint with Florida's Insurance Commissioner Helpline and the Better Business Bureau for mediation. And we've got those links up at abcactionnews.com. I'm Jackie Calloway for the Florida 24 Network.
This is a Florida 24 Network weather update.
How you doing, everybody? I'm meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Here's the latest weather update for the Florida 24 Network. So we've got some clouds across the panhandle, even a little bit of moisture out there, but the air is really, really dry, so I don't see any of this actually making it down to the ground. The big weather story is the chill, the cold air, as we see 40s for lows in central Florida, 30s for lows in the panhandle, and 50s for lows across South Florida. There will be some clouds out there coming in from the Gulf over the next 12 hours or so, clearing in the panhandle, which is why it's going to get so chilly. But later Saturday, Sunday, and the first half of next week, I really think there's a pretty decent chance we're going to be dodging some raindrops. And I think those chances will be rather high across part of the area. So, I mean, you take a look at rain on Friday, not an issue. But on Saturday, look what happens out in the Gulf. You start to see that rain building and moving into the panhandle. And I think there's a legitimate chance that we're going to see some of this rain continue right on into Sunday and the early part of next week. So again, there's your forecast for Friday. Look for mostly cloudy skies in South Florida. It'll still be temperatures in the 70s, whereas Central Florida expect temperatures in the 60s. And in Northern Florida, highs only in the 50s.
We are continuing to cover the price of paradise here in Florida as it gets increasingly more expensive to live in our state. And Disney is trying to help ease that burden. We're now learning more about the company's affordable housing plans for service workers in the Orlando area. Disney announcing they've chosen the Michaels organization to develop and operate 1,300 affordable housing units. Those units will be built on 80 acres of Disney-owned land just a few miles west of Magic Kingdom. The units will be available to certain Disney employees and other service workers who meet income criteria. Construction start and completion dates have not yet been announced. Turning now to South Florida. Last week, Miami-Dade County commissioners approved a new piece of legislation making it easier for homeowners to add secondary units to their properties, either for profit or pleasure. Reporter Sofia Hernandez takes an in-depth look at how this could help address the rising price of paradise, but also may be a potential burden to some homeowners. Commissioner Regalado says while the commission's administration is creating the application, the board will be hosting informational meetings. That way, the public can hear from code enforcement and zoning directors to ask any questions.
Still ahead on Florida 24 Network.
Pack your patience.
Be patient, be kind, and just take a little extra time when you're out there.
Millions are planning to hit the road next week for their Thanksgiving trips, so Florida Highway Patrol troopers are sharing some advice on what you can do now to make sure you reach your destination safely. And the sky's the limit.
My dream job is to be able to wake up just in the morning, just wake up one day, walk outside, go to the airport, point at a plane and be able to fly it.
The Florida program that's encouraging diversity and inspiring a new generation of pilots to take to the sky.
Weather is sponsored by New South Window Solutions.
Get ready. Holiday travel is about to ramp up. AAA expects travel over the Thanksgiving holiday to reach about 98% of what we saw pre-pandemic. And Florida Highway Patrol says they're ready for next week. FHP will have an increased presence on interstates and highways, focusing on speeders, seatbelt violations, and impaired drivers. Last year, there were nearly 4,600 accidents during the Thanksgiving travel period. According statistics, 49 people died on Florida roadways between the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Sunday after. Troopers say if you're planning to travel over the next week, leave plenty of time to get to your destination.
Don't expect to get there at the usual rate of time. It's going to be a crowded roadway, and you want to give yourself plenty of time to just make sure that you arrive there safely and, without any incident. You don't want to be one of those statistics.
Troopers are also reminding drivers to perform routine maintenance on their cars before driving long distances. And if you need to fill up your tank before that Thanksgiving road trip, you may notice prices have fallen slightly. Some good news there. According to AAA, the average price of a tank of gas in Florida is about $3.51 as of Thursday. This heat map shows where gas is cheapest and the most expensive. The dark blue shades of the Panhandle mean gas prices are lower than average there. Same for Northeast Florida and Lee County, but just to the south, Collier County boasts some of the highest prices in the state. The average there is $3.58. Perhaps you're planning to fly instead to visit friends or family next week. Well, we're learning there's an aviation program here in Florida having great success in training the next generation of pilots and encouraging diversity. Reporter Ashley Glass takes us there. This is Florida 24 Network, streaming now. Your Florida news and weather back in a minute. And in case you were just joining us, here's a quick look at what's making headlines across our state.
You're watching South Florida's 9.